بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحي أهلا بكم أحبتي وفي درس جديد ومحاضرة جديدة تتعلق بالشبائك الخلوية والترتيب الذري أو الانتظام الذري خلال الخلايا الشبكية في البلورات وفي المواد المعدنية أو المواد اللامعدنية والمواد عموما بشكل عام في جميع حالاتها الصلبة السائلة الغازية والبلازما. The name of God, most gracious, most merciful, the all living man, the all living God. Here we are again in a brand new lesson, a brand new lecture that actually mostly talks about, or even mostly tries to visualize, an attempt to visualize the particularities of the materials, as well as the crystalline structure of the crystalline manners of the materials, as well as the atomic assortment or the atomic arrangement within or at the cellular lattices that we're actually used to deal with, such as the triclinic, diclinic, or even monoclinic, as well as the trigonal and the hexagonal and the tetragonal types of cells or types of lattices, as well as the atomic packing factor and the anti-atomic spacing calculation and the particularities and the features and characteristics and the properties of the three major types or three fundamental types or principal types of the cubic cells that we actually used to deal with, or even the four major types of or the four essential types of the lattices or the crystal lattice structure systems that we actually used to deal with, such as the primitive cell and the BCC and the FCC and the HCP. Here we are again in a brand new lecture that actually mostly associated or even mostly correlated to the previous topic that we actually already discussed. The topics that discusses, or even the topics that are actually attached pretty much somehow or even pretty much in any way or another actually attached to the cubic cells, as well as the atomic arrangement and assortment in the three-dimensional stereo or three-dimensional solid spatial media. So here we are again. Here we are, as you can see right in front of you, the particularity يعني الخاصية كما ترون أمامكم. المكعب البسيط the simple cubic SC simple cubic. المكعب متمركز الجسم BCC. المكعب متمركز الجسم BCC body centered cubic crystal lattice structure system. And the FCC the face centered cubic crystal lattice structure system أو نظام الشبائكي المكعب متمركز الأوجه كما ترون أمامكم. الخاصية هنا لكل خلية ولها خاصيتها بالنسبة لعدد معين أو بالنسبة لترتيب معين أو نمط معين من الخواص. كل خلية لها نمط معين من الخواص. Each cubic crystal lattice structure system cells are actually right here in front of you, as you can see, has its own arrangement or has its own tacticity in the solid media or in the solid spatial media, three-dimensionally of course, because we're dealing with three-dimensional cubic system. So the cubic are equilateral all over, or equilateral in the entire corners, or equilateral 360. And as you can see right here, every cubic cell is actually pretty much associated to a particularity, or even pretty much associated to a feature. So all you have to do is just featureize the cubic cells, as you can see right in front of you, the entire three cubic cells, the FCC and BCC and the simple cubic, the primitive cell, to featureize the cubic cells here into a certain amount, or even into a certain certain manners of a cubic related to a special cubic assortment in the three-dimensional spatial media. Three-dimensional spatial media يعني الفضاء الثلاثي الأبعاد المادي، الثلاثي الأبعاد المرئي، يعني المرئي أو المدرك. So the size of the unit cell here, as you can see right in front of you, the lateral length A. Size of the unit cell is actually denoted or even given by the lateral length A. يعني حجم خلية الوحدة اللي هي المكعبة. في المكعب البسيط أي تكعيب. In the simple cubic is A cubic. In the simple cubic fabric is A cubic. يعني في المكعب البسيط أو الجسم المكعبي البسيط A تكعيب A cubic. In the base centered cubic crystal lattice structure system is, or in the base centered cubic of the BCC cell, the lateral length is A cubic as well, because just like we said to you, just like we stipulated, or just like the way we stated previously, that the cubic is a equilateral 360 equilateral fabric. يعني المكعب هو جسم متساوي الابعاد في كل الاتجاهات 360 درجة 360 يعني متساوي الابعاد في كل الاتجاهات. A cubic, as you can see right in front of me, which is mainly the volume or even the size. The volume of the unit cell is the lateral length A. For the face center cubic, the same thing as well. The same manner as well. يعني في الخلية المكعبة متمركزة الأوجه نفس الأمر كذلك. A تكعيب. Particularity 2 يعني الخاصية 2. The amount of lattice points for each unit cell. The amount of lattice point for each unit cell. 1 for a cubic cell, and 2 for body center cubic cell, and 4 for the face center cubic cell. Because the cubic cell they were actually dealing with a cubic equilateral 360 equilateral cell. They were actually dealing with is containing 4 atoms for each face or for each hedra. يعني الخلية المتكعبة متمركزة الأوجه تمتلك ذرة في كل وجه، ولهذا سميت متمركزة الأوجه، ولذلك سميت الخلية متمركزة الأوجه. Has own atoms in each face on each hedra. And the body center cubic is actually contains two atoms or even 2 lattice points. يعني عدد نقاط شبيكة 2. والمكعب البسيط يمتلك عدد نقاط شبيكة 1. The amount of lattice point for each unit volume. The amount of lattice points for each unit volume. يعني عدد نقاط الشبيكة لكل وحدة حجم. 1 إلى أي تكعيب، كما ترون 2 إلى أي تكعيب، و4 إلى أي تكعيب. لكل وحدة حجم. لكل وحدة حجم. يعني عدد النقاط إلى وحدة الحجم. 1 here the amount of lattice points, as you can see right here for you for the simple cubic. The particularity of the lattice point amount to each or for each unit volume. For each unit volume. يعني لكل وحدة حجم. وحدة الحجم هي أي تكعيب. So the amount of lattice points here for the body center cubic is 2 for each unit volume. And the amount of lattice point as well for the face center cubic cell is 4 for each unit volume, which is A3 by the way, A cubic by the way. The closest adjacents. As you can see right here in front of you, the surrounding dots or even the surrounding points, and denoted as the coordination number or the adjacency. Denoted as the coordination number or the adjacency. يعني عدد أقرب الجيران النقاط المحيطة بالمكعب بالأركان. The cornerized points يعني النقاط في الأركان. ويعرف بعدد التناسق أو الجوار. النقاط في الأركان زائد النقاط الموجودة في داخل المكعب. The cornerized points or the cornerized digits plus the points of lattice that actually coexist right at the cubic cell, or right at the cubic cell actually dealing with whether the cubic cell was SC or even BCC or even FCC. The FC is even better. The SC cubic cell will actually deal with that even better. I'm telling you. 6 for the SC and 8 for the BCC, and FCC is actually possessing 12 lattice points, or 12 closest neighbors, or even 12 closest adjacents. The amount of the upcoming adjacents, or the amount of the next adjacents. 12 for SC and 6 for BCC and 6 as well as for the FCC. The distance for the closest subsequent dots. The distance for the closest subsequent dots, or the distance for the closer subsequent points, is the eighth root of 2. The eighth root of 2, or the root of a degree for 2. The root, as you can see right in front of you, the root of a degree, or even the root of a value for 2. يعني الجذر للقيمة A للثنين، جذر الثنين للقيمة A, or the root of 2 for the value of A. For the SC, for the simple cubic or thermometer cell, A here for the BCC as well as here, A is the for FCC. Almost pretty much the BCC, almost pretty much identical to the FCC, as you can see right here in front of you, and most of the features, or even and most of the particulars that are actually already, or we just featurize right here in front of you. يعني الBCC تقريبا مشابه للFCC من ناحية الخواص التي حاولنا إدراجها هنا كما ترون أمامكم، التي أدرجناها للتو أمامكم. خبير عن مباراة جدا الجبار. Example 1-1 for size here. The iron crystallized with the atomic cubic assortment of the BCC atomic cubic assortment. Calculate the magnitude of the lattice constant, the lateral length of the unit cell A. Knowing that, يعني يتبرر الحديد the iron crystallized with a body center cubic crystal lattice structure system BCC. Calculate the amount or calculate the magnitude, يعني احسب مقدار ثابت الشبكة the crystal lattice constant ثابت الشبكة البلورية طول ضلع خلية الوحدة the unit cell lateral length A. علما بأن knowing that the amount given or even the intel given المعلومات المعطاة. Fe density is 7.94 gram centimeter cubic, and the raw is the atomic density or even the atomic density of iron. W, the atomic weight, is 55.85, and the Avogadro's number is 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. Na is the Avogadro number for the iron. The solution, for the example, the density equal to the mass of unit volumes, كتلة وحدة الحجوم، كتلة خلية الوحدة على إلى حجم خلية الوحدة. The mass of unit cell with or by the size of unit cell, as you can see right in front of you. Since the actual amount of atoms for each unit cell in the iron crystal is n equal to، يعني بما أنه عدد الذرات الحقيقية actual amount of atoms لكل خلية وحدة for each unit cell في بلورة الحديد in the iron crystal n equals to 2 يعني يساوي 2. لذا القانون ينص كالآتي. So the rule or even the law is applied as follows. يعني القانون يكون كالتالي أو يطبق كالتالي. Rho is equal to Rn W A cubic Na, as you can see right in front of you. The A is the lateral length equal to the square root or even the cubic root of NW to Rho Na, as you can see right in front of you. Rho Na to NW, as you can see, equals to 2 times 55.85, 7 point, as you can see right in front of you, equals to 2.86 times 10 to the power minus 8 centimeter, equals to 2.86 angstrom. 2.86 angstrom. يعني ثابت شبكة الحديد 2.86 انكستروم. ثابت الشبكة، احسب ثابت الشبكة يعني طول ضلع بلورة الحديد، طول ضلع بلورة ذرة الحديد. The lateral length of the crystal iron structure atom is actually equals to 2.86 angstrom. The close packing. We already discussed the close packing. We already have discussed for the previous lectures or even for the formal lessons, as you can see right in front of you. You can review or even rewind the previous lessons just to figure out the way we actually talked about here, or trying to deliver here, as you can see right in front of you. So if we take the atoms as solid identical spheres and centered about the lattice point, there's actually two ways for the epitaxy. Epitaxy is تنضيد. يعني epitaxy هو تنضيد. يعني توجد طريقتان لتنضيد الذرات بحيث يكون حجم الفراغات المحصورة where the size or even the size of the packed vacancies will be less as possible or less as possible. Will be as less as possible. In both methods, we commence to pack the first substrate A, where it will be in contact with each atom or each sphere with 6 other surrounding atoms. Then the substrate 2 or the layer 2 will be placed, as you can see right here in front of you, the same instant. In condition that in condition to came in contact, in condition that or provided that for the atom or for the layer 2 to come in contact with any atoms that have 3 atoms attached to the first layer. Which means every atom in the layer B will be, as you can see right here in front of you. And now to add the layer 3C, we can only find there are actually 2 possibilities as illustrated in figure 6.1. First, possibilities. The layer C atoms will be placed above the holes in each of the 2, as you can see right in front of you. So the 4th layer will be above A layer exactly. We get the stereo impend, or even get the stereo or the solid arrangement or the solid tacticity ABC, as you can see right in front of you, respectively. يعني بالتعاقب. This leads, وهذا يؤدي إلى التركيب المكعب متمركز الوجوه. This leads to the formations of the FCC crystal lattice structure system, which is pretty much closely packed after the coordination of 12. For size, Cu, Ag, Au, and I. Second, the atoms of the third layer are placed above, as you can see right in front of you, so the atomic arrangement in the layers will be in the form ABAB. This actually pretty much donates the composition, or donates the HCP closed packed hexagonal crystal lattice structure systems, and it is featurizes with respect 16 through 3 equals to the square root of A to 3 equals to CA, to C to A, as you can see, or to A to C, as well as the formation of the coordination number of 12. For size, يعني من أمثلته الزنك والكادميوم والمغنيسيوم, Zn, Cd, and Mg. And close packing particularities is due to the most metallics tends to crystallize with a hexagonal or even a cubic atomic epitaxy. يعني يعزى لخاصية الرص المتلاصق, and the closed packing particularity is due to, يعني خاصية الرص المتلاصق تعزى إلى بسبب يعني أن معظم الفلزات that most of metallics actually يعني بالحقيقة تميل or have the tendency يعني لها النزعة أو تميل ميلان, لها الميلان to crystallize إلى أن تتبلور في hexagonal or cubic atomic epitaxy, يعني تتبلور بتنضيد ذري تكعيبي أو سداسي كما ترون أمامكم, تنضيد epitaxy بالإنجليزية, أو composition تركيب ذري تكعيبي أو سداسي. epitaxy تنضيد, composition تنضيد أو تركيب. Here's the word in front of you. A and B. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, حيا الله. Example 2 هو 1 2. Example 1 2. The closed packing factor أو عامل الازدحام الذري, عامل التعبئة الرص, يعرف بأنه can be identified or even can be defined as the hugest proportions of the size can be occupied by the coexist atoms in a unit cell. يعني أنه أكبر نسبة من الحجم الذي يمكن أن تشغله الذرات الموجودة في خلية الوحدة. Calculate the atomic packing factor for each lattices of the crystal lattice structure system. يعني احسب عامل التعبئة لكل من شبكات النظام البلوري المكعب. يعني for the PCC and FCC and the primitive cell. يعني احسب عامل الرص الذري لكل من شبائك المكعب لكل من شبائك النظام الخلوي المكعب. يعني للخلية متمركزة الجسم والخلية السداسية المغلقة المتراصة HCP والBCC, والخلية متمركزة الأوجه الFCC, والخلية الأصلية primitive cell. Solution here. Let's suppose that the atoms is actually a very equidiameter and cohesive solid spheres. يعني نفترض أن الذرات عبارة عن كرات صلبة متساوية القطر ومتماسكة, أي متلاصقة الرص, which means closely packed, يعني متلاصقة الرص ومتجاورة مع بعضها. The atomic packing factor F is the size of the atoms in the unit cell, the overall size of unit cell, يعني حجم الذرات الموجودة في خلية الوحدة وحجم الكلي لخلية الوحدة. Also denoted as the packing fraction or even the epitaxy fraction, يعني يسمى أيضا بنسبة الرص أو التنضيد. epitaxy تنضيد. الرص packing. فإذا كان عدد الذرات في خلية الوحدة in case of the atomic amount in the unit cell n and the size of each cell or even each atom v and its surface r and the cubic letter length a, so f equal to n plus v or even n times v. times هو ضرب, علامة الضرب, times بالإنجليزية علامة الضرب, a cubic, a تكعيب كما ترون أمامكم بالقانون المعطى. And by reviewing or even by rewinding, يعني بالرجوع, by rewinding figure 1.7 as you can see right in front of you, يعني بمراجعة الشكل 1.7 يمكن إيجاد, we can only find that F for the simple cubic, يعني F للخلية المكعبة يساوي as you can see right in front of you 1 times 4 by r cubic. 4 by r cubic 2 3 باي ار 3 باي هو ضرب وتايم نفسه التايمز 3 باي سو باي از برودكت مالتيبليكيشن يعني ضرب اتجاهي او ضرب نقطي across multiplication or even product multiplication can be in the both forms can be also even in the both forms يعني كان يكون في النوعين ضرب اتجاهي او ضرب نقطي times and dot or even times and by is a multiplication process يعني times والby هي علامة عملية ضرب في كل الاتجاهات في عملية ضرب في كل الأحوال in any ways that actually possible equals to pi as you can see right here 0.52 F for BCC as you can see right here for you and the F for FCC as you can see right here for you يعني عامل الرص الذري لخلية المكعبة المتمركزة الجسم كما ترون أمامكم 68 والخلية المكعبة المتمركزة الأوجه عامل الرص الذري لها 0 كما ترون أمامكم هنا. Here's actually a representation graph يعني هنا رسم تمثيلي لكيفية اشتقاق قوانين العلاقة لكيفية اشتقاق العلاقة for the division or derivation of the relevance between the lateral length and the radiance يعني لاشتقاق العلاقة بين حجم ذرة أو طول ضلع المكعب الخلية المكعبة ونصف قطر الذرة نصف قطر الذرة. Here as you can see right in front of you a simple cubic. The A is actually extends right from this point right to this point. It actually extends right from this point which means or which denotes the origin of the circle or even the center of the circle to the center of the adjacent atomic circle or for the adjacent atomic sphere. يعني مكعب البسيط هنا ال A طول ضلع المكعب كما ترون هنا هو طول ضلع المكعب هنا مكعب عندنا يمتد من نقطة أصل أو من مركز الكرة المعطاة أمامكم from the center of the sphere given here right in front of you right into the center of the adjacent sphere يعني إلى مركز الكرة المجاورة أو المناظرة. A equals to 2R. So here we have a radiance for the sphere as well as a radiance for the adjacent sphere. يعني هنا عندنا نصف قطر للذرة الكروية كما ترون لأن احنا هنا اعتبرنا الذرات على شكل كرات. We're just going to have to take the atoms in the form of spheres or even the form of spheroidal objects يعني على شكل كروي. اعتقدنا الذرات على شكل كروي. لذا هنا نصف قطر هنا كما ترون نصف قطر يمتد من نقطة الأصل إلى الحدود الذرية. Here extends from the origin point or the center of the sphere as you can see right in front of you the center of the sphere right into the atomic boundaries. The boundaries actually separating between the both spheroidal atoms أو يعني الحدود الفاصلة بين كل ذرة كروية كما ترون أمامكم. وكذلك النصف القطري الثاني للذرة المجاورة as well as the second radiance or even the adjacent radiance of the adjacent spheroidal atom. يعني نصف قطر المناظر أو المجاور للكرة أو الذرة الكروية المجاورة. Adjacent يعني مجاورة. By the center cubic here the ratio or even the as you can see for the relevance is as follows. يعني العلاقة هي كالتالي A square root of 3 يعني A جذر التربيعي للثلاثة equals to يعني يساوي 4R 4R is maximum value is maximum value you can get by interchanging or even by intersecting or mapping the cubic to the atomic to the spheroidal atoms يعني القيمة 4R هي أقصى قيمة يمكن أن تصلها عند مقارنة when mapping يعني مقارنة المكعب مع الكرات الذرية أو الذرات الكروية كما ترون. Here for the STC is as follows the relevance between the radiance of the atomic cells or the atomic circles or the atomic spheres هنا العلاقة بين نصف قطر الذرات الكروية and the relevance in between as well as the Lattice constant or even the lateral length of the cubic cell يعني طول ضلع الخلية المكعبة أو ثابت الشبيكة. A square root of 2 equals to 4R يعني A جذر تربيعي للاثنين يساوي 4R. Miller indices أو Miller coordinates إحداثيات ميلر indices is featurizing the determination of the crystal plans by using Miller indices according to the following steps. First, hold the crystal steadily, يعني امسك البلورة في وضع ثابت. Assign the length traveled by the plan from the major axes x, y, z in the terms of lattice constants A, B, C. Second, reciprocalize the lengths. Reciprocalize the lengths. يعني خذ مقلوب الأطوال، مقلوب reciprocal، خذ مقلوب reciprocalize يعني اقلب واختزلها إلى أعداد صحيحة، يعني اختزلها أو حولها إلى أعداد صحيحة، يعني convert them into our integer digits provided that having a common factor such as the integer unitary، يعني بشرط أن يكون هناك قاسم مشترك، يعني كما ترون. فيكون الناتج حينئذ so the resultant will be Miller indices, or we will be yielding Miller indices for the plan required to be described or even required to be determined, or even required to be described the coefficients for, or even required to determine the coefficients for. يعني فيكون الناتج حينئذ هي إحداثيات ميلر للمستوى المطلوب وصفه أو تحديده. طريقة لتحديد إحداثيات ميلر. And the coefficients will be placed into two regular brackets and written in the form HKL, interatomic spacings. وإذا قطع المستوي, and if the plan travels through the axis in the negative region, يعني في المحاور بالناحية السالبة أو في المنطقة السالبة القطاع السالب in the negative sector, so the traveled through length or the traveled length will be negative. طول المقطوع سيكون سالبا. And the negative sign will be placed above the correspondent coefficient. يعني وتوضع علامة كما ترون فوق المعامل المناظر. وإذا كان الأطوال المقطوعة لا نهائية في طوله, and if the length or even if the lateral lengths in case of the lateral lengths are infinitesimally lengthed, يعني إذا كانت الأطوال المقطوعة لا نهائية في الطول, أي إن المستوى يوازي المحاور, e.g. يعني أي إن بمعنى that the plan is actually parallelized the axis, أو المستوى يوازي المحاور, so the Miller corresponding indice or the Miller corresponding index will equal as follows. يعني معامل ميلر المناظر سيساوي كالتالي. The x-axis of yx in the proportions of t, 2c, 2b, 2a, or 3a are respectively listed or even respectively representatively graphed as follows. يعني ممثلة كالتالي بالرسم المحاور. We can only find the reciprocal of the amounts, or we can only find the reciprocal of the digits 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. Then we just have to convert them according to the rule to an integer numbers or integer digits. So yielding or yields the Miller indices 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, or even 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, and pronounced as follows. And it's pretty much axiomatic. يعني هو بديهي يعني axiomatic. يعني من البديهي جدا pretty much axiomatic that any parallel plans for the plan in the lattice travels or even intersects the all three axes in the multiplications or even in the multiplicities of the plan portions, or the same plan segments will have or even will pose the same coordinates or will pose the same indices. كما ترون أمامكم, as you can see right in front of you. The figure 1.9 as you can disambiguate Miller indices for the important plans or even the essential plans in the cubic crystal. يعني يوضح شكل 1.9 إحداثيات ميلر لبعض للمستويات المهمة جدا في بلورة مكعبة. شكل 1.9. First, as you can see right in front of you, figure 1.9 Miller indices for the important or essential orientation and plans in a cubic crystal. يعني إحداثيات ميلر لبعض للمستويات والاتجاهات المهمة, وليس لبعض وإنما للمستويات والاتجاهات المهمة في بلورة مكعبة. Here as you can see, this is the plan 100. This is the orientation 100. This is actually, as you can see right here for you, diagonally extended plan. يعني المستوى الممتد قطريا diagonally stretched or even diagonally extended plan. يعني مستوى الممتد قطريا من النقطة إلى النقطة. The plan is 110. Here is the triangularized plan. يعني هنا المستوي المثلث. Triangularized plan. This is the triangularized plan that actually comprises the entire orthogonal axis الذي يضم جميع أو الذي يضم المحاور الثلاث المتعامدة. 1 1 1 as you can see right in front of you. The triangularized plan. And this is the mid plan. The mid plan أو المستوى في المنتصف. 2 0 0. And this is the lateral plan. يعني هو هنا المستوي الجانبي. The lateral plan المستوي الجانبي 1 0 0. And the group of the equivalent plans is denoted as symmetry. For size or for example, here's the HKL is the denotations, or HKL is the denotations for the symmetrical equivalent plans. يعني هنا HKL هو رمز للمستويات المتكافئة المتماثلة. And the crystal structure or even the crystal lattice of a cubic form يعني في البلورة ذات الشكل المكعبي comprises a family or even comprises a collection of plans 0 0 as you can see right in front of you. Each faces of the cubic is 0 0 0 0 0 as you can see right in front of you, dash 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 and dashed. The entire plan or the all three sets of or even all three a group or even collection of the Miller indices, the second collection of Miller indices as you can see right in front of you are dashed. E.g. though they are all has the same Miller indices but with different assortment with different assortment يعني. يعني هنا تمتلك نفس احداثيات ميلر بترتيب مختلف كما ترون امامكم هنا. From the other hand يعني في الناحية الأخرى from the further hand من الناحية الأخرى a Miller indices identical coordinates will be used يعني ستستخدم إحداثيات مماثلة لإحداثيات ميلر. Miller indices identical coordinates will be used to determine the orientations to determine indoor orientations لتحديد الاتجاهات الداخلية للبلورة or even to determine the interior orientations of the crystal, which are also integer numbers or integer amounts with a common factor, and proportionalized with the major components for any vector that has the same orientation or that has the required orientation. Written in two square brackets وتكتب بين قوسين مربعين على الصورة UVW on the form UVW. فالاتجاه الموجب للمحور X, so the positive directions or even the positive segment of x-axis is 1 0 0 and the coordination y is 0 1 0 and denoted for the group of the equivalent coordinations is denoted as follows. يعني تمثل مجموعة الاتجاهات المتكافئة أو يرمز لمجموعة الاتجاهات المتكافئة على الصورة UVW. So the collection of the equivalent directions يعني في عائلة الاتجاهات المتكافئة 1 1 0 1 1 0 تضم الاتجاهات الآتية. They're actually pretty much going accordingly with the following directions or with the following vectors. يعني تضم المتجهات أو الاتجاهات الآتية كما ترون أمامكم هنا. الاتجاهات الآتية كلها مناظرة للاتجاه المكافئ 1 1 0. Here the entire vectors here because you were for you the entire Miller indices equivalent coordinations pretty much identical to the symmetric vector or even for the symmetric direction 1 1 0. يرجى الانتباه إلى الاتجاهات التالية. Please be careful and we want to draw your attention to the following directions. يعني يجب أو علينا أن نلفت انتباهكم إلى الاتجاهات التالية المناظرة للمتجه أو المستوي 1 1 0. The following directions are pretty much identical to the corresponding plan 1 1 0. يعني corresponding plan أو يعني المتجه المناظر أو even مستوي المتناظر 1 1 0. And the cubic crystal structure system, only the orientation UV will be perpendicular عموديا على المستوي HKL. Will be perpendicular to, or HKL سيكون عموديا على المستوي UVW. So the HKL plan will be very much perpendicular or even orthogonal or even normal to the UVW plan, when the H equal to U and K equal to V and W equal to 1 or L. So the plan 1 0 0 is perpendicular to the orientation, or perpendicular or even going parallelly with the orientation 1 0 0, and the plan 1 1 0 is actually, as you can see right in front of you. You can rewind figure 1 9. يعني يمكنك مراجعة شكل 1 9. The points locations into unit cells are determined by using the significance, or in terms of the lattice constants or lattice coordinations. And the point of originations will be taken at each corner of unit cell and expressed on the location, or the location of the points, or the location of the dots will be expressed by the XYZ coordinates and denoted as the point coordinates that actually middleize, or if it middleizes the fabric of unit cell. يعني middleizes يعني تتوسط جسم خلية الوحدة, or even centeredly positioned, or even centeredly located in the body of unit cell. يعني التي تتوسط أو التي تقع في منتصف جسم خلية الوحدة. centeredly located into the body of unit cell, or 1 over 2 1 over 2 1 over 2, and the coordinates of the faces centers are, or the hydra centers are 0 1 1 over 2 1 over 2 0 0 1 over 2 1 over 2 1 over 2 0 1 over 2, or even 1 to 2 1 to 2 0 and 0 1 to 2 1 to 2 and 1 to 2 0 1 to 2. Good. Example 1 3. يعني مثال 1 3. احسب المسافة العمودية البينية. Calculate the normal distance, the interstitial, the interatomic spacing separating between a group of successive plans has the same Miller indices HKL in the right rectangular crystal lattice structure system. يعني في بلورة النظام المستطيلي القائم. right rectangular هو المثلث. right rectangular crystal lattice structure system في بلورة من النظام المستطيلي القائم. The solution. Figure 110 disambiguates the normal distance DHKL, or even the interatomic spacing distance between each two respective plans in a different or even in a parallel plans of the certain crystals is actually going accordingly with Miller indices. يعني تعتمد أو تكون موافقة لإحداثيات ميلر كما ترون هنا أمامكم. A variety of HKL interatomic spacings of the parallel plans in the dimensional or even bidimensional grid or bidimensional lattice and their own Miller indices وإحداثيات ميلر الخاصة بها. their own Miller indices وإحداثيات ميلر الخاصة بها. قابل And by rewinding figure 111 geometry, where alpha dash, beta dash, and gamma are the angles made by the normal OH established from the point of origin as HKL with the orientation or with the original orientations ZYX respectively, and the proportions of the plane intersections with the major axis or CLBKHA or AH. We can only find that the directional cosines are as follows. يعني نجد أن جيوب التمام الاتجاهية هي كالآتي. Directional cosines جيوب التمام الاتجاهية كما ترون أمامكم. Cosine alpha dash equals to ON, as you can see right from here, and cosine beta dash and cosine gamma. Cosine squared alpha dash plus cosine squared beta dash plus cosine squared gamma, as you can see right in front of you, is the golden rule, is the arithmetic trigonometric golden rule. يعني القاعدة المثلثية الرياضية الذهبية تساوي 1. ON squared equal as follows. Or ON squared is H2 A squared H squared plus K squared B squared plus L squared C squared equals to 2, or even C squared L squared equals to 1, or equals to a unitary or a unit value. يعني يساوي كمية وحدوية أو واحد. DHKL واحد عظيم، واحد هو الله. DHKL the interatomic spacing، يعني المسافة بين الذرية كما ترون. DHKL equals to 1 with the square root of 2A squared H squared plus K squared B squared plus C squared L squared. In case of the crystal system, or even in case of cubic system, where A equals to B and equals to A, when equals to C in the same times, yields as follows. DHKL will be in the form of equals to A, as you can see right in front of you, the square root of H square plus K square plus L square. مهمة جدا للصف الأول. Very much essential for the first graders. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحقيقة. Here example here for the crystal combinations or for the crystal conformations. يعني أمثلة للتركيبات البلورية. Chloride cesium CSCl cesium chloride featurizes the body center cubic crystal lattice structure systems as actually the cesium CS plus positive ions occupying the or even carbonized of unit cell, carbonized at unit cell, which means the dots 0 or triple 0, which means the dots triple 0 يعني أي النقاط الصفرية الثلاثية triple 0 الصفرية الثلاثية, where the chlor ion or the Cl negative or the Cl minus is occupying the center of the cubic cell 1 2 2 1 2 2 1 2 2. Thus, therefore, the unit cell is partially occupied or even contains of cesium chloride, as you can see right here in front of you. Therefore, the unit cell will be containing a single segment or even binary segment of the cesium chloride CSCl. يعني ترتيبات تواجد الذرات خلال الخلية المكعبة لكلوريد السيزيوم. The arrangements of the atomic coexistence within or even atomic coexistence at or to or atomic coexistence, the arrangements of the tacticity of the atomic arrangements or the atomic coexistence at the cesium chloride CSCl chloride unit cubic cell, يعني وحدة الخلية المكعبة. We can only take يعني يمكننا اعتبار the crystal lattice of the cesium chlorides is consist of two branched networks, يعني من شبكتين فرعيتين من نوع المكعب البسيط of the simple cubic for each of the cesium ions as well as the chlor ions. Then the both cells, even with both lattices, are displaced for each other all along the cubic diagonal with a half of the diameter. Look or review figure 12.1 or 112. يعني ثم أزيحت شبكتان بالنسبة لبعضهما البعض على طول قطر المكعب all along the cubic diameter and the magnitude of the radiance or and the magnitude of radiance, يعني بمقدار نصف ذلك القطر أو بنصف القطر. Review figure 112 يعني يمكنك مراجعة شكل 1.12 كما ترون. هنا شكل 1.12 كما أمامكم بلورة كلوريد السيزيوم, the crystal of cesium chloride, as you can see right in front of you. The figure 112 CS cesium plus and Cl negative, the positive ion and the negative ion of Cl, as you can see right in front of you. Both lattices are displaced for each other all along the cubic diameter or the cubic diagonal extension. يعني أزيحت شبكتان بالنسبة لبعضهما البعض على طول الامتداد القطري للمكعب بمقدار نصف ذلك القطر. The magnitude of the radiance. Review figure 112 يعني راجع شكل 1.12 كما هو أمامكم. المثال الثاني على الشبائك البلورية. The second example here for the crystal lattices are the sodium chloride. Sodium chloride هو النظام المكعبي لملح الطعام, لكلوريد الصوديوم, مادة كلوريد الصوديوم, ملح. The chloride sodium is actually a face-centered cubic crystal lattice structure system. يعني كلوريد الصوديوم هي وحدة خلية مكعبة أو نظام خلوي مكعب من النوع مكعب متمركز الوجوه, وتحتوي خلية الوحدة and the unit cell contains three, as you can see, real segments of NaCl with the ion coordinations are with the ion indices are, يعني إحداثيات أيوناتها هي كما ترون أمامكم. بالنسبة للأيون البوزيتيف أو الأيون الموجب للصوديوم Na for the positive ion of the Na as you can see right in front of you plus as well as for the negative ion of Cl. وكذلك للأيون السالب أو الأيون للأيون الماء الناقص أيون درجة يعني أيون الكلوريد ليس السالب ولا الناقص. حاجة السالب. And the coordination amount for each ions يعني عدد التناسق لكل أيون يساوي 6 أيونات كما ترون equal to 6 ions. The structural units or the fundamental structural units, the matrix, is actually consist of the sodium ion positively and the chloride ion represented negatively, separated by the half radiance of the cubic unit cell in the solid crystal lattice structure system. يعني يفصلها نصف قطر خلية الوحدة المكعبة في الشبكة أو في الشبكية البلورية الفراغية. We can only take the crystal structure of the sodium chloride and consists of two branched networks or even two branched lattices interlaced. يعني two interlaced branch lattices. يعني or two progressive but two progressive branched lattices. يعني يتكون التركيب اللوري لكلوريد الصوديوم من شبكتين فرعيتين كما ترون امامكم of FCC type يعني من نوع المكعب متمركز الوجوه. The sodium ions and the further is chloride ions يعني ايونات الصوديوم وايونات الكلور. الايونات كلها هي ايونات الصوديوم مع ايونات الكلور. Then both lattices are displaced ثم ازيحت الشبكتان بالنسبة لبعضهما البعض for each other as have the cubic lateral length يعني ثم أزيحت هاتين الشبكتين أو أزيحت الشبكتين بالنسبة لبعضهم البعض بمقدار نصف طول ضلع المكعب يعني as have the lattice constant يعني بمقدار نصف طول ضلع المكعب أو طول ضلع المكعب أي يعني أي حاجة lattice constant والله. review figure or illustrated in figure 113 يعني موضح في الشكل 1.13 كما ترون أمامكم هنا التركيب الذري the crystal lattice or the crystal structure of the NaCl crystal lattice system structure or FCC type. يعني هنا التركيب الذري لوحدة الخلية المكعبة لكلوريد الصوديوم ملح كلوريد الصوديوم ملح الطعام كما هو موضح في الشكل 1.13 من النوع FCC of the FCC type يعني من النوع الخلية المكعبة متمركزة الأوجه. Here's you can see 113 and 114 is the diamond crystals يعني هنا بلورة الماس تختلف اختلافا كليا عن يعني بلورة الماس بلورة مستقلة بحد ذاتها أو بلورة نوعية. The diamond mass or even the diamond crystal mass is actually pretty much specific or singular يعني بلورة الماس بلورة نوعية أو بلورة فريدة كما ترون أمامكم. ليست فريدة وإنما نوعية specific only or even specific as certain crystals. G, the crystal structure of diamond. Crystal structure of diamond is a face-centered cubic crystal lattice structure system. يعني ينتمي إلى النظام المكعب متمركز الأوجه والوحدة البنائية الأساسية and the foundational crystal unit or crystal structural unit, the matrix or the base accompanying each lattice point consists of two carbon atoms with the indices are as follows. يعني المرافقة لكل نقطة شبيكة تتكون من ذرتي كربون إحداثيتهما أو معاملاتهما هي كالتالي. As you can see right in front of you. Each atom is surrounded by 4 atoms as adjacents or as the closer adjacents. يعني يحيط بكل ذرة 4 ذرات هي أقرب جيرانها. The coordination number stipulated يعني عدد التناسق كما هو منصوص عليه. And the unit cell وحدة الخلية and the unit cell contains 8 actual atoms يعني وتحوي وحدة الخلية 8 ذرات حقيقية. And the diamond structure is considered relatively as you can see right in front of you. Whereas the atomic packing factor is estimated in the amount of 34% only. 34% which is a very massive amount or very massive proportion for the atomic packing factor just to be for a certain material. يعني هي 34% كمية هائلة لعامل الرصد الذري أو عامل التعبئة الذرية لأي مادة أو أي تركيب بلوري لمادة معينة. أقصى ما يوصل يعني نسبة هائلة very tremendous amount, or a very tremendous proportion. We can take the diamond crystal structure is consists of two only lattices of the face center cubic type. يعني التركيب الماسي متكون من شبكتين فرعيتين من نوع مكعب متمركز الأوجه. Then they're intersected each other with a displacement, or even they displaced with respect to each other in the limit of, as you can see right in front of you, to the length of the cubic diameter. يعني من طول قطر المكعب. You can review figure 114. يمكنك النظر إلى الشكل 1.14. الآن موضوع جديد جدا كما ترون أمامكم. الله the crystal symmetry يعني التماثل بالوري. موضوع جديد جدا, brand new lecture here to be even to be proponed or even to be visualized here in the current lecture as we indicated before. The crystal lattice structure is actually featurizes the crystal lattice or the crystal lattice is actually featurized by the symmetry procedures, which by preceding them the crystal structure will retain its original situation, will retain its original, or this crystal structure will retain the original flow. يعني التي بإجراءها يعود البناء البلوري لوضعه الأصلي. إجراء التماثل البلوري by preceding crystal symmetry, so the crystal lattice structure or even will retain or even will be able to restore the original epitaxy. يعني سيستطيع البناء البلوري من استرجاع الوضع الأصلي أو استرجاع التنضيد الأصلي. And the crystal displacement procedure is actually considered with the amount of the directional vector T arrow. The equation 2-1 or equation 1-2 represents the procedures of the crystal symmetry. يعني المعادلة 1-2 تمثل عمليات التماثل البلوري أو إجراءات التماثل البلوري. Point symmetry procedures, عمليات التماثل النقطية. هناك عمليات تماثل أخرى. There are actually a further symmetry procedures can be applied at a certain point in the crystal lattice. That's why they are denoted as the point crystal lattice symmetry procedures. And for size for this, يعني ومن أمثلتها inversion operation or inversion procedure, عملية الانقلاب. Preceded about a lattice point called the inflection or even the inversion center, where it converts بحيث تحول the directional vector T dash to D dash, and the procedure is denoted as the L dash. يعني ويرمز للعملية بالرمز L فتحة L dash. Mirror reflections أو chirality يعني العمليات الانعكاس أو اليدوانية, denoted by the M letter يعني يرمز لها بالحرف M, satisfies a compatible two-dimensional image for the highlighted lattice halves at both sides of any symmetrical plans that passes through any of its points. يعني يمر بنقطة من نقاطها. Rotation عمليات الدوران. About or even around a symmetry axis passes through the lattice points and satisfies the crystal retain or satisfy the crystal restorations, the original epitaxy after rotation in a particular angle phi equal to 2 pi or 10 or even its multiplicities or even its precautions or even its multiplications, where n is an integer digits describes the symmetry converter or it describes the symmetry operator. See right in front of you the rotations about the symmetry axis passes through a lattice points and verifies crystal restoration, the original epitaxy after the rotation in a particular angle phi equal to 2 pi over n, or the multiplicities, where n is an integer digits describes the symmetry converter or even describes the symmetry visualizes the symmetry operator or converter with layer amounts بعدد ضيعته, ويأخذ قيما محددة and possess certain values or 6, 4, 3, 2. The symmetry of the 180, 120, 90, 60 rotation angle rotations or symmetry of rotation angle. The symmetry of the rotation angles of 180, 120, 90, 60 respectively, they're actually pretty much overwhelming or even very much a huge amount or a tremendous amount of lattices can retain or even can restore the original epitaxy with any further rotation procedure. There's actually an axis or pentagonal or even heptagonal symmetry axis for the crystal lattice. يعني محور خماسي أو سباعي. Pentagonal خماسي, heptagonal سباعي. التماثل يعني pentagonal or heptagonal crystal lattice structure system symmetry. يعني خماسي أو axis symmetry, axis of symmetry. يعني محاور تماثل أو محاور تناظر خماسية أو سباعية للشبكة البلورية. Figure 115 as you can see right here in front of you. يعني الشكل 1.15 كما ترون أمامكم. التماثل الخماسي والتماثل السباعي. The pentagonal symmetry as well as the heptagonal symmetry. الله أكبر يا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We can only by using the intrinsic arithmetic methods or the intrinsic mathematical methods of representations. يعني يمكننا بالطرق الرياضية البحتة التمثيلية إثبات أن محاور التماثل الدورانية proving that the symmetry axis of rotations cannot be only but يعني يمكن إلا أن تكون singular, dilatorary, trilaterary, tetralaterary, or even hexalaterary. يعني يمكن أن تكون أحادية أو ثنائية أو ثلاثية أو رباعية أو سداسية. فإذا اعتبرنا الشكل 1.16 if we take for size here the figure 1.16 the planar lattice into 2 dimensions with the periodic constants A in the horizontal orientation. يعني الشبكة مستوية في بعدين. This lattice is actually 2-dimensionally planned. The lattice is actually 2-dimensionally planned with the periodic constants A in the horizontal or even at the horizontal orientation. يعني ثابتها الدوري A يعني ثابت الشبكة the lattice periodic constants A in the horizontal orientation يعني في الاتجاه الأفقي. And by supposing a symmetry of axis coexistence with a layer nth with nth layer يعني عدد طياته n nth يعني nth layer يعني عدد طياته n أو ذو عدد الطيات النوني الn يعني عدد معين passes the lattice point B with the adjacent closest correspondent or the closest correspondent axis passes the point A. So the rotation of phi angle around or even about B transfers or even translates يعني ينقل النقطة A translates the point A to A dash and the symmetric rotation around axis A translates the lattice point B to B dash. It's obvious يعني واضح أن النقطتين that both A dash and B dash points are tacticized into the crystal lattice structure system queenies يعني تنتميان أو منتظمة في صفوف الشبكة البلورية. ويتضح من هندسة الشكل and it is very clearly obvious from the geometry of the figure that يعني واضح من هندسة الشكل أنه كما ترون أمامكم هنا as you can see here in front of you, the product multiplication between B dash and A dash equal to AB 1 plus 2 cosine phi equals to A. A is the product, the multiply product, or even between A and B 1 plus 2 cosine phi, as you can see right here, determined by using the graphical or geometrical representations for the entire equational systems, as you already been aware to, or as you already been visualized with. as you already been briefed with يعني كما أسلفنا وكما تم إطلاعكم عليه. شكل 1.16 the geometrical proof of the limited amount of symmetry axis يعني إثبات الهندسي for unlimited the geometrical proof for the unlimited symmetry axis. يعني لوجود عدد غير محدود من محاور التماثل. Ever since that, or even regarding that, a dash b dash parallel to a b, so the length of a dash b dash should be integer multiplications, should be in the form of integer multiplications for the lattice constant a. يعني يجب أن يكون مضاعفات صحيحة لإثابة الشبيكة a. ومن ثم فإن المقدار phi أو المقدار 2 cosine phi, then the magnitude or even the estimation to cosine phi should be equals to a very specific integer digits. يعني يساوي أعداد صحيحة محددة, or plus 1 to 2 and 0. And the corresponding angles phi are only 90, 60, 120, 360, 0, 180. يعني 90 60 120 360 0 180. وباستخدام مفهوم عملية التماثل and by using the conceptions of symmetry, where is 360 n equals to phi, the adjacent rotational symmetry axis will be either unitary and dietary and tertiary as well as tetratory and the hexatory, as you can see right in front of you, which will be the same in case of three-dimensional lattice structure crystal system. يعني تكون نفسها في حالة الشبيكة ثلاثية الأبعاد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يلا هاي. In an angle of phi equals 2 pi over n, or equal to 2 pi n. N is the symmetry nth layer. N is the symmetry layer amount, or even the symmetry. The nth here, as you can see right in front of you, the nth here, so the n is the degree of symmetry, or not the degree of, but the rank of symmetry, as you can see right in front of you. 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 equals n. Alright, so the n followed by an inversion around a lattice point at which the axis is passing through. يعني يتبعها انقلاب حول نقطة شبيكية يمر بها المحور. And the axis of the the inversal rotation axis is expressed by the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And the figure 117 disambiguates that the reflection procedure M equivalent to rotation procedure 180 followed by an inversion 1 procedure at exactly the junctions of the symmetry M plan at the point of junction of the symmetry M plan with the second symmetry axis, or with the symmetry axis titled 2, or the symmetry axis denoted as 2. e.g., which means that the last point P naught equivalents to the point, or equals the point P in the symmetry plan M, and also be equal to by rotation, or also be equal to by revolving 180 degrees around the AA dash axis to become at P dash at P dash, then the inversion or by the inflection around the center I, then we get only 10 elements to determine, or even 10 elements to specify the crystal symmetry are as follows, which are listed, or even which are determined, or even written as follows. يعني مكتوبة كالتالي: محاور الدوران rotation axis 6 4 3 2 1. محاور الدوران الانقلابية the inversal rotation axis are as follows: 6 4 3 2 1, as you can see right for you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحياة. Each of the unit cells are actually features in the 14 Bravais lattices by the presence of the elements. يعني تتميز كل من خلايا الوحدة في شبكات برافيا 14 بوجود العناصر كما ترون أمامكم. عناصر التنظيم الشبيكي كما ترون. التنظيم الشبيكي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. As the figure in front of you represents the symmetrical axis, or even the symmetrical assortment and orientation around a certain plans, or even the inversion processes, or even the inversion procedures, as well as the rotations and the chirality procedures used to take place in the certain plans here in the spatial media, represented in 3 dimensions. Here, with the lecture here to deal with. God, قول here is a brand new topic here to deal with. يعني هنا موضوع جديد لنتعامل معه الآن. وكما ترون الموضوع يختص ب the topic is actually pretty much specialized about the crystal binding, or the mechanisms at which the atoms are interstitially bind with each other, or even interstitially bonded to each other within the crystal lattices, as well as the manners of assortments, or even the manners of tacticity at which the crystal lattices are actually going with. يعني يوضح الميكانيكيات التي تترابط بها الذرات في الشبيكة، وكذلك الأنماط الشبكية المعنية، or the concernable lattice manners, or the concernable lattice structure manners at which the lattices are going with. When the free atoms accumulate، يعني عندما تتجمع الذرات الحرة. when the free atoms agglomerate، يعني عندما تتجمع الذرات الحرة، إذا تتجمع لها مرادفات accumulate، agglomerate، وcluster. when the free atoms are clustered، يعني عندما تتجمع الذرات الحرة، whether being singular kind or whether being diatory kind or even more، يعني diatory types or even more، فإنها يعني ليست حشو والله، فإنها ترتبط فيما بينها. they will be bind to each other by a different or a variety of forces in nature and strength. يعني تأثير قوة مختلفة، تأثير قوة من أنواع في طبيعتها والقوة كذلك. والارتباط هو الذي يعني كما ترون أمامكم يوضح كيفية ترابط الذرات مع بعضها في الخلية الشبكية. In case of solids، وفي حالة المواد الصلبة، we can only find their amount of the atomic correlation, or the amount of the atomic crystal structure binding be more common than the further, or be more common, and leads to display many of similarized features materials. يعني يؤدي إلى ظهور مجموعات من المواد ذات الخصائص المتشابهة. many of typical identical featurized materials. many of identical and similar featurized material، يعني ظهور مجموعة من المواد ذات الخصائص المتشابهة. we can only categorize the crystal solids according to the nature of atomic bindings or atomic bonds on the following sorts, according to the following assortments. يعني يمكن تصنيف الجوامد البلورية أو المواد الصلبة البلورية crystal solids تبعا لطبيعة الروابط الذرية في الأنواع التالية. The crystal ionic crystals, highlighted as cesium chloride and even the sodium chloride, which already been discussed in the current lecture and the previous topics, as you can see right here for you. يعني as only been discussed right before, as only already been discussed right before. يعني أمثلتها كلوريد السيزيوم وكلوريد الصوديوم التي تم مناقشتها سابقا من قبل. And the binding occurs in cesium chloride as well as the sodium chlorides between the atomic difference that loses some like sodium and negative possessed charged electrons and becomes positively charged ions. تصبح أيونات ذات شحنة موجبة أو موجبة الشحنة. And the further atoms are actually acquiring a negative charge such as chlor and turns to be or even converted to negative ions. يعني تكتسب الذرات الأخرى شحنات سلبية كالكلور تصبح أيونات كما ترون. And produces Coulomb forces يعني قوى شحنية، قوى شحناتية، يعني قوة كولومية، قوى شحنات. يعني كولوم هو وحدة قياس أو قياس قياس الشحنات. Because Coulomb is just the unit scale for the charges, the common or worldwide known unit scale of charges. It produces a Coulomb forces of interaction of the electricity of the variety electric charge interactions work to get the ions close to each other. يعني تعمل على اقتراب الأيونات من بعضها البعض إلى مسافات معينة to a certain instance or even to a certain amount of distances, because the repulsion forces, the attraction forces of Coulombic sort also comes in the form or even also generated as a result for the electronic cloud interference. يعني أيضا تنشأ نتيجة لتداخل السحب الإلكترونية or the ionic crusts or even the ionic shells أو القشرات الأيونية. الآن الأيون أو البلورات التساهمية كما ترون equivalent crystals highlighted as diamonds ومن أمثلتها النحاس for example, at which the electrons will in the adjacent amounts will share and fulfill and occupy the outer shells. The outer shells will fulfill or they occupy the acquired or the required amount of electrons. يعني تستوفي الأغلفة الخارجية لها العدد اللازم للإلكترونات. Will be fully occupied or the outer shells will be fully occupied by the required amount of electrons. يعني الأغلفة الخارجية سوف تمتلئ كليا أو تستوفي العدد اللازم من الإلكترونات ويتحقق ذلك بتركيب إلكتروني مستقر. And that's only will be achieved by any stable electronic epitaxy or any stable electronic composition. And the carbon atoms of the orbital assortment or the orbital hybridination يعني تفضل ذرات الكربون ذات التهجين المداري orbital hybridination يعني التهجين المداري 1s2 2s2 2p2 in the diamond crystals to configure with each other يعني أن تتحد مع بعضها يعني أو تترتب مع بعضها بواسطة 4 روابط by 4 essential bonds. Each of them are tend to form a tertiary pyramidal angle in the amount of 5408. يعني كل منها تميل على تكوين زاوية هرمية ثلاثية ومقدارها كما ترون 54 أو 108 بالقياس الستيني والقياس الدائري. الستيني أحسن طبعا أكيد. The rating or even the 60 scale is even better. E.g. بمعنى that the carbon atom will be in the center of a tertiary pyramid. يعني ذرة الكربون تتوسط هرم ثلاثي الأضلاع. And the 4 other atoms correlated or the 4 other bonded 4 other or even the 3 bond هنا ليس 4 هنا 3 3 other connected atoms two carbon atoms as their closest or as their closer adjacents will be at the pyramid vertices. يعني ستكون عند رؤوس الهرم وتصبح بذلك جميع ذرات الكربون thus the entire carbon atoms will possess 8 electrons like in their outer shell وكأن بغلافها الخارجي 8 إلكترونات. So the entire carbon atoms were acclaim 8 electrons in the outer shells يعني تصبح وكأن بغلافها الخارجي 8 إلكترونات. Good. It's very stable, a very much stable situation, a very much stable condition at which very, very strong bonding forces were generated from. يعني التي تنشأ عنه قوة ترابط غاية في القوة. Extremely strong bonded forces will generate the conditions as you can see right in front of you. يعني قوة ترابط غاية في القوة سوف تصبح أو تنشئ الرابطة. And if the packing in the diamond epitaxy يعني إذا كان الرص في تنضيد أو تركيب الألماس متباعدا من الناحية الهندسية geometrically divergent يعني متباعدا من الناحية الهندسية لأن الرابطة الهرمية just because the pyramidal bond will permit only 4 atoms as the closest adjacents. يعني تسمح فقط ب4 ذرات كربون كأقرب جيران في حين أن تركيب المتلاصق الرص whereas the closed packed hexagonal lattice structure system has only 12 atoms as adjacents. Only 12 atoms as adjacents. يعني التركيب المتلاصق الرص اللي HCP يحوي على 12 ذرة كأقرب جيران أو كأقرب تجاور. metallic crystals البلورات الفلزية تتميز الفلزات بقدرتها على التوصيل الكهربائي والحراري الجيد The metallics featurized by their electroconductivity and thermal conductivity, very much excellent, or featurized with their excellent thermal and electrical conductivity. Then the electrons in the outer shells، ومن ثم فإن الإلكترونات الموجودة في القشرة الخارجية من ذراتها تكون حرة. All their atoms will be free to move، بحيث تكون حرة الحركة، free to move، forming a cloud of negative charge surrounding the atoms ions. يعني تكون مكونة سحابة من الشحنات السالبة تحيط بأيونات الذرات. That due to the bond or the inter-electronic bond exteriorly and their atoms. يؤدى إلى الرابطة بين الإلكترونات الخارجية، يعزى إلى الرابطة بين الإلكترونات الخارجية والذرات التابعة لها. Due to the inter-outer electronic bond and their atoms and their own atoms. يعني يعزى إلى الرابطة بين الإلكترونات الخارجية والذرات التابعة لها. For simplification يعني على سبيل التبسيط، يعني كمبسط، كشكل مبسط أو كنظرية مبسطة، as a simple visualization we can only picturize، يعني يمكننا أن نتصور that the metallic crystals only formed of lattice of the positive ions immersed in a uniform sea of negative charge of the negatively charged electrons or negatively charged loose electrons، يعني في بحر منتظم من الشحنات السالبة الإلكترونات الطليقة، وينشأ عن ذلك قوى تجاذب تحقق الترابط، and as a result for or resulting in the formation or in the generation of attraction forces achieving the binding or achieving the inter-atomic binding of the metallics، يعني تحقق الترابط بين ذرات الفلز، وتتميز الرابطة الفلزية. And the metallic bond is actually featurized, or the metallic bonds between the ions and the surrounding electronic cloud electronic cloud at the crystals is actually featurized as they are flexible, or can be described as they are flexible due to the absence of direct binding between the atoms and each other in case of as you can see right for me. As a result, for the presence of a direct binding between between the atoms and each other, between the atoms, or the presence of a direct yoking or a direct binding or interatomic direct binding as the way it happens in the case of ionic and equivalent or ionic uncovalent crystals. Good. Molecular crystals البرولات الجزيئية highlighted as wax and organic compounds and such featurized with the binding of the electrostatic forces types, long range electrostatic force kind or even sort that is presumed by Vondel to explain the gases laws. Thus the melting points of the materials will be as high as possible, as max as possible. They are fairly high electrical conductors and high electrical conductors, and the atomic tacticity uniformize in the types or in this types in the type of crystals where the van der Waals bond will be generated as a result of the dipole momentum of the electric dipole moment, with the variety of charge will be closest or as close as possible or closest to be compared with the identical charge. The attraction will be even slightly bigger than, or the repulsion will be even slightly bigger than the attraction. hydrogen bond crystals, hydrogen bonded crystals، يعني البلورات ذات الرابطة الهيدروجينية أو المربوطة هيدروجينيا. such as ice crystals من أمثلتها بلورة الثلج، وفيها تحدث الرابطة الهيدروجينية at which the hydrogen bonds takes place with certain circumstances or at certain conditions between the major or macro atoms or the electrically negative macro atoms, and it's presumed to be ionic in nature، يعني معتقد أنها أيونية في طبيعتها إلا أنها وجوهات قطبية polarity، but their molecules or the molecules resulting from or generating from the hydrogen bonding or the hydrogen bonding is of
strong polarity. In water molecules, the equivalent strong bond will be generated or even will be formed between the oxygen atoms of each of hydrogen, both atoms, and each of the hydrogen atoms when the ice is actually formed. So the inner charge distribution will result in the appearance or will result in the generations of electrical dipole in the water molecules as a result, resulting in the formation of negative charge to the oxygen atoms and positive equivalent charge for each of the hydrogen atoms. Thus, the water molecules will be attracted to each other as a result for electrical dipoles attractions forming the crystal ice. Crystal growth. The crystals are prepared usually by slow cooling of the liquid materials or even the molten mass. We can prepare the single crystals by multiple methods, such as, we can only mention that, the molten or even the growing from the melt. The molten growing method, molten growth method. يعني طريقة الإنماء من المصفور. The solid mass is melted into a constant receptacle within a furnace, or a constant receptacle at a furnace. Then we can only immerse the seed, which is very like crystal, then gain contact with the tip of the molten, then rotate them and draw them in the same instant to the top very slowly by using an agent or by using an engine with the velocity in the amount of multiple centimeters per day, or even in the limits of multiple centimeters a day of drawing or even of pulling. The pulling or the rotation, as well as the rotation, will lead to the assortment, or it leads to arranging the molten atoms when solidified to the seeds, and they are growing in the form of a macro-sized single crystals, has the same seed directions or has the same seed orientations, and the growth procedure is done in the presence of gas to prevent the material oxidation. Good. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The zone melting method، يعني طريقة الصهر بالمنطقة المنصهرة. طريقة الصهر بالمنطقة المنصهرة أو صهر الجزء كواتر. The method is used to prepare a single crystal from a polycrystalline materials. يعني تستخدم هذه الطريقة لتحضير بلورة واحدة من مادة عديدة البلورات. كما تستخدم لتنقية المادة المتبلورة as well as it uses or even it's used is can be used to purify the crystallized materials from any inclusions that actually could be possibly included. The solid materials, those solid items, is actually polycrystalline solid atoms, is actually placed into a graphite tubes with a heating coil rolled around to levitate or even to elevate the temperature to a temperature that actually pretty much adjacent to elevate the temperature to a melting point of the item. Now at the tip of the matter, or at the tip of the item, there will be a seed of the same crystal required to be growth at. Then by a heating coil, a furnace, we can elevate the temperature till the material is fully melted in a small zone, or even a zone at the seed, exactly at the seed. Then by mobilizing the ovens very slowly from the side of the seed, going away from the zone at which it's melted, to melt the region, the fertile region, and solidify the region before, or solidify the prior region. It's very slowly, and get the opportunity, as well as giving the opportunity or even giving the chance for the atoms to solidify at the connection whenever there's a connection between the item and the seed in the same uniform toxicity and in the same uniform arrangement or tacticity. At the completions of the oven motion through the tube, then we're going to have a very high crystallized mass. يعني تكون عندنا مادة على درجة عالية وهائلة من التبلور، أو تكون لدينا كتلة على درجة هائلة من التبلور. Then we can pass the coil again to get a much higher degree of crystallization. يعني يمكننا تمرير الملف مرة أخرى للحصول على درجة أعلى من التبلور. After all, في النهاية, we can only get a single crystal of the item. We can only get a single crystal of the item, as well as we can only repeat, or we can only proceed the repetitive process, or the repetitive procedure here to distribute the repetitive process multiple times in order to distribute the inclusions to the crystals, or even to purify the crystal from the inclusions, to purify. So the melting zone, while in motion, while moving, withdraw entire inclusions to the far side. يعني إن المنطقة المنصهرة melting zone أثناء حركتها تسحب معها الشوائب إلى الطرف البعيد. Bridgman method طريقة بريغمان. يتم صهر المادة في وعاء مناسب مسحوب بشكل مخروطي. The item or even the mass will be melted in appropriate vessel, connectly rolled at the side. مسحوب بشكل مخروطي عند طرفه. ويستخدم محرك بطيء, and very slow engine is used to get the receptacles very slowly from the high temperature zone, reaching the conical side into the colder zone, first forming the seed crystal or the crystal seed at the tip of the conic section, يعني في طرف المقطوع المخروطي, وتكون بمثابة نواة, and will be as a nucleus at which the entire atoms will even gradually accumulated at, وتكون بمثابة نواة تتجمع عليها الذرات تدريجيا, with the continuity of the vessel oscillation till we get in the end, or till we get after all a very crystallized mass, يعني إلى أن تتكون في النهاية till a very crystallized mass will be formed at the end. Naturally, وبطبيعة الحال تراعى بعض الاحتياطات الضرورية. Necessary precautions will be taken care of. So, the vessel should be chosen with a melting point much higher than the solid materials, as you can see right here. So there will be no inclusion leakage. So there will be an inclusion leakage. So in order to get the inclusions right back to the vessel, or to get the inclusions right back to the crystals, or to get the inclusions, or to form, or even to compel the inclusions or the impurities leakage to the crystal, يعني لإجبار الشوائب للتسرب إلى البلورة. As well as its material will be reactable with the crystal size. يعني يجب أن تكون مادته قابلة للتفاعل. As also its material or its metallic material will be, or the metallic material will be very much reactable or interactable with the crystal mass مع مادة البلورة. كذلك ينبغي أن تتم عملية الإنماء في الفراغ, as well as the growth procedure, or the growth should be done in appropriate gas presence, أو في وجود غاز مناسب. Take a look at the following shape, or take a look at the following figure. يعني انظر الشكل التالي. طريقة بريغمان وطريقة الإنماء من المنصور, من الماء من المصفور, كما ترون. الشرح ومقارنته مع الشكل يمكن فهم الطرق التي نتحدث عنها, الطرق المناسبة أو الطرق التي تم شرحها الآن لإنماء البلورات.
Good. Good.
Assigning the crystal structure, يعني تعيين التركيب البلوري. We can identify the crystal structure of any materials and studying the atomic arrangement in the crystal lattice, or even photographing them by using an interatomic spacing limit located wavelength ray of any angstroms, or of approximately at a further set of angstroms, at many of angstroms, at many of angstroms، والتي تصل لانكسترومات، لكثير من الانكسترومات. الانكستروم هو A naught equals to 10 to power 10 of the meter، 10 to power 10 of the meter. Most appropriate ways for this utilizations in common is R is going to be like R the X-ray waves، يعني X-ray waves يعني موجات الأشعة السينية، as well as the accompanying waves for the electrons and neutrons, and acquiring a whole new set of details for the crystal structures compels for the interatomic and the interwave reactions. يعني يقتضي أن يكون التفاعل بين الموجات والذرات، يعني تعيين التركيب البلوري ورؤية التركيب البلوري وتصوير التركيب، يعني تسجيل التركيب البلوري والتقاط الصور له يتم بالأشعة السينية. Assigning crystal structure as well as assigning crystal structure, as well as photographing the crystal structures and pick up as stills or even very much high definitions pics for the crystal structure is done by using the accompanying of neutron electron rays and as well as the X-ray, ray diffraction, X-ray diffraction and Bragg's law. Photography permits for the waves to penetrate for multiple levels or to multiple layers to the crystals, or multiple layers at the or multiple layers to the crystals, where it will be or where they will be constructively interferenced, where they will be constructively interferenced، يعني بحيث يحصل لها تداخلا بناء. Where they will experiencing a constructive interference، يعني سوف تختبر أو يحصل لها تداخل بناء. بالجبر. Bragg's law قانون مهم جدا يجب الانتباه إليه في فيزياء واسس هندسة المواد للصف الأول. Bragg's law. Bragg was able to impose a whole new simple model of crystal structure can be which we can find the diffraction or we can find the directions of the X-ray diffractions of the crystals after the incidence. يعني تمكن براغ من فرض نموذج بسيط للتركيب البلوري يمكن بواسطته معرفة اتجاه حيود الأشعة السينية من البلورة بعد سقوطها عليها، which means we can identify the crystal structures right by the reflected X-ray diffraction beam after the incidence. يعني يمكننا معرفة التركيب البلوري بواسطة قانون براك بواسطة الأشعة المنعكسة بعد الحيود الأشعة السينية بعد سقوط الأشعة السينية في البلورة، أو بعد سقوط الأشعة السينية في البلورة. وفي النموذج according to the model or according to the modelization، يعني وفقا للنموذج Bragg's presumed or Bragg's assumed that different level or that the levels of the crystal atoms can reflect the X-rays. يعني المستويات لذرات البلورة يمكن أن تعكس الأشعة السينية. And the figure 120 is actually illustrate the methods at which Bragg concluded his law accordingly. يعني الطريقة يبين شكل 21 يعرض الطريقة أو يبين الطريقة التي تستنتج بها براغ قانونه الذي يكون على الصورة. God. 2 lambda equals to 2 DHKL sine theta. Theta is the ray incidence angle يعني زاوية سقوط الأشعة. Lambda is the ray wavelength or even the beam wavelength، يعني لمدة طول الموجي للأشعة السينية. N is an integer digit denoted as the reflection order، يعني N عدد صحيح يسمى برتبة الانعكاس. DHKL is the interatomic spacing for the set of levels، يعني المسافة البين ذرية لمجموعة المستويات HKL. It's good to mention, or even good to refer, that Bragg's equations is concluded to the basis of the periodic arrangement or the periodic assortment of the crystal structure with the considerations of the atomic tacticity as well as the types in the reflecting or and the reflecting levels or even the reflecting plans. which are the most effective two agents only in the intensity of the corresponding or the nth values corresponding reflections. يعني هما العاملان المؤثران فقط في شدة الانعكاسات المناظرة لقيم n. أما النتيجة المهمة the essential consequence or the essential direct consequence of the Bragg's equations just for the inequality فهي أن تكون المتباينة inequality يعني lambda bigger or equal to 2 DHKL. DHKL as we stated before the interatomic spacings for the set of levels يعني المسافة أو المسافة البينذرية لمجموعة المستويات HKL. Just for the inequality to be a major or even a foundational conditions for the Bragg reflections occurrence. يعني فهي أن تكون المتباينة كما ترون أمامكم شرطا أساسيا لحدوث انعكاسات Bragg's reflections, which very much illustrates ويوضح السبب في عدم ملائمة الضوء for the light disequivalency to study this and the Bragg's law or even the Bragg's law application is of big advantage or even is of maximum advantage to obtain the dimensions of the crystal lattice structure system unit cell. يعني يفيد تطبيق معادلة براغ في إيجاد أبعاد خلية الوحدة للشبكة البلورية. مهم جدا قانون براغ يجب التركيز عليه. رجاء ركزوا على قانون براغ. empirical examples or even mathematical examples for Bragg's law. يعني أمثلة لقانون أمثلة رياضية لقانون براغ. Example 1.4 or example 4.1. Calculate the lattice constants for a cubic cells experiencing an X-ray incidence with a wavelength of 1.54 angstrom and an angle of 11.1 angstrom. Verifying Bragg's reflections, first order Bragg reflections of levels 110. يعني حققت انعكاسات براغ ذات الرتبة الأولى first order Bragg reflections verifying first order Bragg's reflections of levels 110 من المستويات 110. صفر. مثال نحسب ثابت الشبكة لبلورة مكعبة ساقطت عليها أشعة سينية. Good. The solution by applying Bragg's law yields يعني بتطبيق معادلة براغ ينتج DHKL and lambda 2 sine theta equals to 1 times 154 equals to 4 angstrom. Angstrom is the interatomic spacing or interatomic spacing for the crystal planes HKL respectively. يعني المسافة البينية للمستويات البلورية HKL بالتعاقب. By using the equation DHKL equal to A H squared square root of H squared by plus A K squared plus L squared yields lattice constant equal to 4 square root of 2 angstrom. This is the lattice constant as well as it can be denoted or even it can be termed as cubic cell lateral length يعني طول ظل الخلية المكعبة. The practical methods to assign crystal composition or crystal structure. الطرق العملية لتعيين التركيب البلوري. A crystal ray diffraction is actually used to assign their crystal structures in the same instant. And the empirical method or even the experimental methods, the variety of experimental methods is used to apply Bragg's law where a correlated range or even correlated range of beams from lambda to r theta can be provided to do so. يعني يمكن توفير حيث يمكن أن توفر مدى معين أو متصل من قيم لامدا أو ثيتا ولما كان بالإمكان لتعيين التركيب البلوري لتعيين الحيود وليس التركيب البلوري الحيود ولما كان بالإمكان تعيين الطول الموجي since it is very much possible to assign the wavelength lambda for the X-ray by using any independent methods and measuring theta directly from reflection trial where it equals to, or it equals to a half angle between the incident and the diffracted ray. The incident and the diffracted rays as illustrated in figure 120. So the Bragg's law will be applicable to calculate the normal distance between the interatomic spacing collections, DHKL, or interatomic spacing collections, DHKL between the crystal planes, then calculate the crystal lattice constants by knowing their solid geometry. يعني بمعرفة الهندسة الفراغية معرفة الهندسة الفراغية. We can only assign, as well as we can assign the amount of atoms in the unit cell as compared by comparing the reflection intensity of the levels by using microphotometer, where the substantial, or even where the tremendous atomic density levels will give much bigger reflection intensity. يعني حيث أن مستويات ذات الكثافة الذرية الكبيرة تعطي شدة انعكاس أكبر. It is naturally required a special assortments by using a multiple experimental methods. We can only mention the following. يعني يحتاج الأمر بطبيعة الحال، أو يتطلب الأمر بطبيعة الحال، إيش يحتاج؟ الحاجة لله فقط إلى ترتيب خاص باستخدام عدة طرق تجريبية، ونذكر منها الطرق الآتية مهمة جدا لفيزياء وأسس المواد للصف الأول هندسة. Very important and very essentials for the fundamentals of engineering materials for the first graders. لاوي method طريقة لاوي. At which a band of X-ray will be mapped, or band of continuous X-ray will be mapped to a constant single crystal, or even to a steady single crystals. The crystal will be selecting the lambda special particular wavelengths that drops or even mapped with a Bragg theta HKL angle. يعني تنتقي البلورة حينئذ الموجات ذات الطول لمدا الخاص التي يمكن إسقاطها بزاوية براغ ثيتا HKL للمسافة البينية for the Bragg's angle of the denotation of F theta HKL for the interatomic spacings, HKL for the crystal planes, that verifies a constructive interference for the reflective rays from the atomic planes, or the atomic crystal planes of the interatomic spacing DHKL according to Bragg's law. يعني التي تحقق تداخلا بناء للأشعة المنعكسة من المستويات الذرية ذات المسافات البينية DHKL طبقا لقانون براغ. طريقة لاوي. الطريقة الثانية طريقة البلورة الدوارة Rotating Crystal Method، طريقة تدوير البلورة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. جدول Rotating Crystal Method, at which an X-ray, a monochromatic wavelength X-ray, will be bombed to a crystal structure, or even to a single, will be mapped to a crystal or to a single crystal, also revolves around a fixed axis stabilized at. Thus, we get a connected range of the incidence angle thetas and to the crystal planes in their interstitial or in their interatomic spacings. And the chance will be available to verify Bragg's law. The figure 121 or 122, the figure 121 disambiguates a simplified sketch of the method where the microfilm is taken, or the microfilm is formed cylindrically with the axis parallel to the axis of rotations at which crystal is stabilized at. And Bragg's reflections will be exhibited to the sensor microfilm in a horizontal planes, in a form of horizontal planes. وانعكاسات براغ
سوف تظهر على الفيلم الحساس، وفي الفيلم الحساس على شكل طبقات أفقية. Many of further agents are used besides the film to give us a very comparable, very quantitatively comparable results directly after this. As an example, for the diffraction measurement or the diffractometer that gives us a very qualitative or quantitative models as illustrated in figure 123. That show the comparisons between the both sample or between the both motels of X-ray by potassium chloride and the potassium bromide are getting obviously to the surface. Both of them is actually very much identical or even very much formed very much FCC crystal lattice structure system formed. يعني فكلاهما ينتمي إلى النظام البلوري المكعب متمركز الوجوه FCC، أي الكلوريد البوتاسيوم والبروميد البوتاسيوم للشكل البلوري بحيود الأشعة السينية. Here, actually, as you can see right in front of you, the figure 123, the rotating crystal method. هنا rotating crystal method. يمكنكم مقارنة الشكل مع الشرح. You can also compare the figure or the simplified figure with the equation or with the explanation priorly discussed. المشروح مسبقا. هنا الأطوال الموجية بالإنكسترام كما ترون لحيود الأشعة السينية. في كل من كلوريد البوتاسيوم وبروميد البوتاسيوم. Maximum diffraction coefficient or maximum diffraction amplitude by using a special X-ray diffractometer is used indicates that the 700 or even indicates that the 1000 peak or peak of thousands angstrom is actually reached by the X-ray diffractometer consequences after proceeding a diffraction or after proceeding a mapping of X-ray to the single crystal or to the mapping of X-ray or X-ray insertion into the crystal of potassium chloride, reaching the 1000 angstrom peak is actually can be considered the maximal or the maximal peak or the maximal amplitude the diffractometer can reach in measuring the diffraction or even measuring either the diffraction of the or measuring the at the same time measuring the diffraction of the X-ray as well as the crystal lattice or the crystal lattice formology. Powder method طريقة المسحوق also denoted as Debye and Schroeder method وتسمى أيضا طريقة ديباي وشريرر وهي مناسبة للدراسات التطبيقية very much appropriate or very much suitable for the applied studies and necessary and it is necessary for the crystal to be singular where a band of X-ray will be mapped or band of monochromatic wavelength X-ray will be mapped to the powder of any crystalline material or will be inserted to any powder of any crystalline materials. And the orientation distribution for the powder granules will be an almost or will be an approximately continuous range where each of them are considered small each of them will be considered as crystals or will be taken as crystals. And the Bragg's law will be verified for several granules of the crystals. يعني يتحقق قانون براغ بالنسبة لعدد منها. يوضح شكل 124. The figure 124 is actually disambiguates as simplified sketch to the sensor microfilm positions with respect to the spacemen in the used in the method. يعني يرسم مبسطا لوضع الفيلم الحساس بالنسبة للعينة في المستخدمة في الطريقة. كما ترون microsensor methods and the diffraction as well as the incident angle of X-ray to the crystal, the incident angle of X-ray introduction to the crystals and the diffraction or diffracted ray beams resulting from using a very sensitive diffractometer or
not using very different, not using a very distinctive, or not using a part of diffractometer, but only using a powder instead of diffractometer, a very distinguished and very particular powder granules just instead of diffractometer, to be placed with respect to the sensory microfilm in the powder method. Diffraction of electrons and neutrons. You can also use neutrons and electrons to study their crystal structure based to the particular double nature particularity of materials governed by de Broglie's law on the form lambda HP. H is where H is black crystals and P is the electron or proton momentum. يعني P كمية تحرك الإلكترونات أو بروتونات. the electron كلها ليس البروتون ولا الإلكترون فقط. is the electron momentum. P هو الإلكترون زخم الإلكترونات أو كمية تحرك الإلكترونات فقط وليس البروتونات. حشو بروتون والله. Lambda is the accompanying or even the conjugated wavelength. الطول الموجي مصاحب لهما. Conjugated for the diffractions of electrons and protons in same time. Accompanying the electrons and proton diffractions, or for the electrons diffractions only. And for the electrons, that the conjugated wavelength will be constantly changed, will be continuously change with the change of the speed, or with change of kinetics. They will be considered as charged particles or the charged objects. And we can change the velocity, or we can even change the speed. Not the velocity, the speed here. Velocity is انطلاق بالعربي. The speed السرعة. We can only change the speed by changing the potential accelerator difference, or the difference of the accelerator potential. But the wavelength of neutrons is hard to control, always, usually, and we can only select the resultants of reactants with appropriate wavelength. يعني نكتفي بانتقاء ما ينتج من المفاعلات أو من التفاعلات بطول موجي مناسب. And ever since that electrons will not be penetrating for long to the crystal, or in the crystals, so they will be basically used to study the shallow, as you can see right in front of you, will be basically used to study as follows, and to complement the way that the X-ray couldn't, يعني وتكمل ما لم تستطعه الأشعة السينية, where the neutrons are used mainly to study and determine the magnetic features of the crystals. يعني وتستخدم النيوترونات بصورة رئيسية لدراسة وتحديد الخصائص المغناطيسية للبلورات، هو الفرق بين النيوترونات والإلكترونات. Exercises and questions for the first chapter. يعني أسئلة وتمارين في الفصل الأول. Question 1. Define crystal lattice. Is the resultant form from the atomic arrangement or the uniformly tacticized points for the entire material mass. هي الشكل الناتج من ترتيب الذرات أو النقاط المترتبة ترتيبا منتظما لكامل للمادة كلها. Good. Define the fundamental, or define the foundation. عرف الأساس. As an atom or group of atoms coexist in a point site in the lattice, or a point site of the lattice. يعني عبارة عن ذرة أو مجموعة ذرات تتواجد في موقع نقطي عن نقاط الشبكة. Good. Question 3. A crystal unit cell, MgO, with the density of a crystals 3.96 gram centimeter cubics. The atomic weight of O is 16 and Mg is 24.31 respectively. Determine the size of unit cell. يعني حدد حجم وحدة الخلية. Unit cell size or unit cell volume is given as follows. The A cubic is the Lattice constant NWP, and as you can see right in front of you. 2 times 16 by 24 plus 24.31. The resultant is as follows. You can calculate the resultant, or you can calculate the acquisition. You can calculate the acquisition by proceeding the division process, or by proceeding the division task. يعني يمكنكم حساب المحصلة أو الناتج من
إجراء عملية القسمة أو إجراء مهمة القسمة. Question 4. Calculate the atomic packing factor for the BCC unit cell already discussed. يعني معامل الربط أو معامل الرص المتلاصق لخلية من النوع المتمركزة الجسم. As you can see here, the packing factor is equal to 4 3 by r cubic by 2 a squared. A PF u by 2 3 to the square root of 3 a3. As you can see, we're equal to 0.068 or equals 68%. القوانين التي نذكرها الآن مهمة جدا، مهمة جدا. مهمة جدا للصف الأول هندسة، يجب دراستها ويجب التمعن فيها بإسهاب، خاصة القوانين الرياضية وكذلك التعريف بالأخص. And particularly or even especially the definitions. The real structure of solids, new topics here to discuss. To visualize. The introduction. Were discussed in the previous chapter the geometry of the typical crystal structure of the solids to the basis of the periodic arrangement or the periodic tactic arrangements of the crystal lattice structure fundamentally at the crystal lattice. Doubtlessly, the periodicity is uniformly proportionalized. يعني ولا شك أن الدورية مطردة بانتظام وما يصاحبها من تماثل مقنن. And accompanied with any combination of localized symmetry وما يصاحبها من تماثل مقنن localized. هما أهم صفات الجوامد البلورية are the most important attributes for the crystal solids, but we should know that the crystal structure or the real crystal structure of solids won't be that perfected as the typical compositions of the perfect or the optimal crystals. They're actually realistically always diffractions of the proportionalized periodicity in the crystal structures, even though the crystal is actually looks like it's full periodic and full coordinated. يعني وكذلك البلورة تبدو لنا وكأنها تمت الدورية وكاملة التناسق وتامة التناسق. تم بحمد الله